What is natural selection? It is a process in nature in which organisms possessing certain genotype characteristics that makes them better to an environment tend to survive, to reproduce, to increase in number of frequency, and able to transmit their essential genotypes qualities to succeeding generation.
The example of natural selection are peacock female fix their breeds based on male tails. Next is the origin of giraffe long neck. The ancestor of modern giraffe is usually same as deer and antelope. So the long neck is because the trees are tall and it is easier for them to eat.
In the population, individuals have a variety of qualities. The choice of the species for survival depends on whether or not these qualities let the organism adapt to the changing environment. The members of a particular species are completely identical to one another. Size, color, disease resistance, and other variety of other properties are varied among organisms. Such diversity is typically the result of unintentional mutations or copying errors that happen as cells divide to create new organisms. As an illustration, the sponsors for Hawaiian fruit flies can include body size, head form, and wing pattern. Characteristics are passed down to the kids by the parents. The genetic material responsible for an organism growth and function in living cells is called DNA. And when the organism reproduces, it passes the genetic material onto its progeny. Because DNA contains information about various traits, children usually inherit the variations of their parents. For instance, tall people are more likely to generate tall offspring. Competition between members of the same species as well as between the distinct species happens because multiple species coexist with scarce resources. Each organism or species that can survive the competition depends on its characteristics and adaptability. Environments are incapable of supporting an endless population. Despite the lack of resources, there are more creatures that want than can survive. However, some species will be most successful at surviving, reproducing, passing on their DNA because they're most successful at finding food, mating, and avoiding predators. Variation can affect whether an organism survives and produces more offspring. Color changes, for an example, can hide certain animals from predators. Sharper eyes, talons, and an eagle grabbing their prey. With a bright coloration, a male peacock's chance of finding partner improve.
Three types of natural selection can occur in nature. First, direction selection. The variation that can occur when a population shows a particular trend through time. It happens when environment change constantly. A very simple example is the neck of a giraffe. Each giraffe has a different neck length. This variation in the trait gives each giraffe various advantage. Like a giraffe with a longer neck, it's easy to reach the food source. Second, stabilizing selection. It is the most common type of selection occurring in the population and is homeostatic that maintains the status quo. This selection reduces the variability in the population. Third, descriptive selection. In this selection, two adaptive traits are selection when the population exists in a heterogeneous environment. For example, an area that has black, grey and white bunny contains both white and black rock. Natural selection will favor both the trait of white and black, since they both prove useful for camouflage.
Imagine what will happen if we live in the world that the water is 8 feet off the ground. Probably no one will survive. Why? Because tall people will multiply and the short people will die. This is known as natural selection. So I'm going to talk about the pros in the natural selection. It allows for variation plus survival in the ever-changing environment. Second, less chance of being wiped out due to a disease or virus. Third, new variation of organism can be produced. For cons, it takes a long time to change. Second, selectively bred organisms are susceptible
to environmental change and disease.